resonance. So I have recollections myself, and a lot of my studies, a lot of the people that I have studied believe that the sarcophagus was part of an initiation in terms of, I mean, the Ark of the Covenant apparently fits in there perfectly, but when the Ark's not there, and someone lies down in there and is resonated by the vibrations of the Schumann resonance passing through the entire pyramid, what would be the purpose of being resonated that way spiritually?
Well, first of all, I think that you have to kind of look at the science behind the room to a certain extent, because the speed of sound in air is 343 meters per second. But the speed of sound through granite, and that entire room is made of granite and rose granite, is 6,000 meters per second. So it'd be almost like, from a comparison perspective, if we could speed up the speed of light, in the same way, we'd have to speed up the speed of light 17 and a half times. So the speed of sound is 17 and a half times faster in the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber than it is anywhere else. That seems to be kind of important, right? And so when you lay inside that sarcophagus, you've got these scalar waves and compression waves, longitudinal waves going through you, right? Very, very rapidly. And it has some effect on your Kundalini. It also has a major effect on, and that's the spiritual life force, right? That basically sits dormant at the base of your spine until you start going through this initiation process. And actually, if you look around the King's Chamber walls, there are secrets hidden within them, not only in the mathematics, but in 432, by the way, is the tetractys number. So 432, you've always probably heard of the tetractys and the tetragrammaton. It goes 4 dots, 3 dots, 2 dots, and 1 dot. You complete the pyramid.
For this target that focuses on how the Great Pyramid of Giza was used for its original purpose. In his first session, the viewer describes both verbally and with detailed sketches a collection of pyramid-shaped structures that are separated by long distances yet connected with energy. The connection between the various structures appears to follow some type of energy pathway, or what is sometimes called ley lines. That is, the various pyramid structures themselves appear to be connected energetically. The energy connecting the structures seems to be, at least in part, electromagnetic in nature. There is the sense of earth frequencies. The energy moves through the earth, and it is either not natural or it is being harnessed and controlled. The viewer clearly draws the pyramidal structure of the target, accurately noting that the structure extends underground as well. The energy that connects the various pyramidal structures appears to run in straight lines. The viewer then draws in detail a collection of pyramids that seem to be closely spaced, and explicitly states that this large, complex, and beautiful symmetry reminds him of the pyramids when they were alive, here referring to the pyramids in Giza. Near the end of the session, the viewer describes both verbally and with sketches subjects participating in the flow of energy related to the target structure. The viewer writes, bright light, energy, like a half-mile-high Tesla coil. This looked like a light show at a rock concert, but seemed like many people watching the Northern Lights. But the energy spectacle is closer, awe-inspiring. At the very end of the session, the viewer shifts his perception to the inside of a tunnel that is geometrically shaped on the inside. He had the sense of a particle super collider tunnel. Now, watch as Dick Algire describes live on video his perceptions of the Great Pyramid of Giza as it is being used for its originally intended purpose.
And looking at land one, what predominates, I mean, there is land there, but I see a structure, and I see a pyramid. It actually got a sharper angle than that, and I feel that it extends underground a bit. So here's the ground, and here's the And this is beautiful. This is, this top is almost shimmering, or as if energy is, the whole thing seems to radiate energy. It's not dark stone like the pyramids. It's beautiful, but it's metallic. It's not, it doesn't seem to be stone. It radiates as if it was metal. Very shiny, glistening, high-tech type of thing. It's almost a grid pattern with something up here that's bright like a capstone, like a reflective. And the land, I see some people, very small here. Land is not jumping out at me. So my first land gestalt is the energy is radio frequency, RF energy. So there's a beatific light energy, and there's also, this is emanating some type of RF. There's a very charged feeling to this. Charged, the right word? Active, alive, oral, almost an oral energy around this. So that's my land one that is dominated by this structure, which, I gotta say it seems pyramidal, like a pyramid. Okay, I'm going to try to take a wider look at land now because I was so focused in on that. So this is going to be Blackboard Land 2. These are ley lines. So again, these structural shapes, like a complex of structures, and there's, let me look. I get a very, I don't think this is actually visible to the naked eye in the visible spectrum so much. It's not like a furrow in the land or a painted line or a road or a rut, but it's more like these are lines of energy. The word ley lines, like magnetic, some grid of energy that is connected to these structures and is associated with the land. Earth frequencies, frequencies of the earth, they resonate. Earth frequencies resonate. Earth frequencies. But they're visible to me when I look on Blackboard as an energy pattern. And there's a very strong one, like here. This is out of line, but it bisects. These are here to bisect this. I didn't draw that right, but there's a magnetic earth frequencies resonance, energies resonant, that's on a line there. So that is land 2, again dominated by structures, but energy grids. I don't know if they're harnessed. Are they, let's see if they're tapping it or creating it. Tapping it. So I would say these points here are not generating, they're tapping. This is like the Northern Lights, okay? It's not the Northern Lights, but it's like, it has that, if you looked at the Northern Lights and sped it up and amplified it 50 times in the sky, everybody's looking up, it's beautiful, it's radiant, and it seems like a light show at a rock concert, like the Grateful Dead light show, but this doesn't, it's not mechanically generated. It's like a, you know those, like a Tesla, what do they call it, a Tesla coil? Or that, they have those things that you, the energy is out like spider webs and you touch the ball, you know, and it'll touch your finger and the energy goes to it. That's what this is like, only you're in these people and this is up in the sky. Very beautiful light show.
Hidden Magnetic Portals Around Earth, presented by Science at NASA. A favorite theme of science fiction is the portal, an extraordinary opening in space or time that connects travelers to distant realms. A good portal is a shortcut, a guide, a door into the unknown, if only they actually existed. It turns out that they do, sort of. And a NASA-funded researcher at the University of Iowa has figured out how to find them. We call them X-points, or electron diffusion regions, explains plasma physicist Jack Scudder of the University of Iowa. They're places where the magnetic field of Earth connects to the magnetic field of the Sun, creating an uninterrupted path leading from our own planet to the Sun's atmosphere 93 million miles away. Observations by NASA's Themis spacecraft and Europe's cluster probes suggest that these magnetic portals open and close dozens of times each day. They're typically located a few tens of thousands of kilometers from Earth, where the geomagnetic field meets the onrushing solar wind. Most portals are small and short-lived. Others are yawning, vast, and sustained. Energetic particles can flow through the openings, heating Earth's upper atmosphere, sparking geomagnetic storms, and igniting bright polar auroras. NASA is planning a mission called MMS, short for Magnetospheric Multiscale Mission, due to launch in 2014 to study the phenomenon. Bristling with energetic particle detectors and magnetic sensors, the 4 spacecraft of MMS will spread out in Earth's magnetosphere and surround the portals to observe how they work.
The circle is really an extension of a ley line, and it goes all the way around the planet, almost like cutting the Earth in two. And we'll see examples of these in our ancient sites across the planet were lined up all around the planet. Archaeoastronomy is the alignment and orientation of sites to the sun, moon, and stars at certain times of year or certain cycles. Earth energy lines, these are yin and yang energies that emanate from the Earth, and they often move in random, sinuous, serpentine ways across the surface of the planet. Similar to these are telluric currents, and these are alternating electric and magnetic currents that are from the Earth's magnetic field. They strengthen at sunrise and weaken at dusk, and they often form into spirals, and these are often recorded and noted and dowsed at ancient sites. And Earth grids is really all of these in one system, looking at the Earth as a representation of these different geometries and different systems in one whole grid.
In medieval times in Europe, they did types of vibrational testing to find lines of energy in the Earth. And these Earth grid energies were classically used for demarcating specific vibrational qualities in a location, and also they would build sacred structures directly on the Earth lines. The Earth lines could be used either for placing the walls of the building on or the central axis of the building. And so this woodblock print shows in medieval times the dowsers of that time, vibrationally testing for where the lines of energy are running in the earth to plan out the city. In Dr. Karim's biogeometry work, a tremendous amount of detail has been developed, talking about the ways that we can detect these earth energy lines and the methods used in ancient times that have now been updated into modern methods to be able to build and work with these earth energies in the classical method of either developing a single building or actually shaping the energetics of entire neighborhoods, communities, or cities. This particular slide here looks at the way that in placing any type of sacred site, which in modern times would be a church in Europe, they would find a place that multiple energy lines come together that are running a specific type of energy. Again, this is an energy often referred to as the energy of sacred power spots. And one of Dr. Karim's accomplishments, as we'll mention in just a moment, has been to actually identify the specific vibrational quality of power spots. In this particular German analysis of this particular church, you can see that there are multiple lines of energy that are crossing at a particular location. The place of the multiple crossings of lines of energy is where they will place the altar within the church. And another major large energy line will become the central axis for the church.
And when we look at Giza, we find that even Graham Hancock noted this in his 1998 book, Heaven's Mirror. He developed a theory of longitudinal distribution of sacred sites based upon precessional numbers. These are numbers that are encoded into the precession of the equinox, 25,980-year cycle. And these are all harmonic numbers such as 72, 144, 108, etc. But he also found not only did that the sites were related longitudinally from Giza, they all were harmonic distances, harmonic degrees apart. We also accidentally found that they were based upon pentagonal geometry. The numbers of precession are the internal angles of pentagons, suggesting that the precession of the equinoxes is directly related to sacred geometry, i.e. pentagons, and possibly dodecahedral geometries, which we'll see later. So was this a lost universal pattern yet to be discovered? And just to look at it from another level, the importance of the Great Pyramid itself. It appears to have been designed and built to represent the Earth, or certainly the Northern Hemisphere. The height and perimeter of the Great Pyramid multiplied by 43,200, which is one of these precessional numbers, yields figures very close to the modern polar radius and equatorial circumference. The base length of the pyramid is also precisely 1/8 of a minute of degree of the Earth's polar circumference. And so we're finding Earth measurements very simply, in very simple terms, within the Great Pyramid's dimensions. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, really, because if you look more deeply into the Great Pyramid, you kind of see that it is really a repository of ancient knowledge, a repository of ancient mathematics, geometry, astronomy, and very high wisdom. And I believe it was partly maintained and partly built to be a permanent structure to encode all these different high levels of geometry, mathematics, and technologies and energies and so forth. And it was almost deliberately created to withstand many thousands of years of vandalism, destruction, and ignorance, to maintain this high level of intelligence, sophistication, and consciousness on the planet. I think the same can be said for many other sites around the world, and that's why they were built with earth and stone, so they would last and be almost impossible to destroy. And the Great Pyramid itself in Egypt, brilliant research by various people, mainly Christopher Dunn, found that they themselves, the pyramids, were crazy energy accumulators and distributors, mechanical, thermal, electric, magnetic, nuclear, and even chemical. There was so much going on within these. And there was a whole system that Chris Dunn writes about in the Giza power plant, where they were able to set them up get the pyramids going, seal them up, and there would be like this constant energy flow, energy machine that could have fed the whole planet. It could have been manipulated so it spread from one ancient site to another, and spread constantly around the planet between obelisks, standing stones, mounds, and other such things, even on different continents. But right underneath the pyramid is the great subterranean chamber. I've been here a couple of times, but I went here when I was extremely sick. When I was here, I was actually inside the pyramid on December the 21st, 2012, of all times. And I was so sick, I got really horrendous food poisoning. When I climbed down to the subterranean chamber, I became completely healed, 100%. I was not sick. 30 minutes while I was down there, I was completely healthy. The whole sickness had been neutralized. I was no longer nauseous. I felt energized. I was like, what is going on here? This is utterly bizarre. I came back out of the chamber, and I was sick again. I got up to the surface, and I felt sick again. So it's almost like some kind of neutralizing energy, like the pyramid power was kind of sending this energy down into this subterranean chamber. And I was completely well for the time I was there. And we know that pyramids do have these particular effects. There's been tests done recently in Russia and Ukraine. And they've been building these fiberglass pyramids, which are based upon the golden section, much like the Great Pyramid, although these are much more taller and elongated. And these are some of the results they were getting. They would find that water wouldn't freeze, increased strength of concrete, ionized plasma rising up above the pyramid. Seeds, again, were getting the 20 to 100% growth increase. Increased resistance to mice with salmonella and tumors. Similar to me, I had like serious food poisoning. I got completely well when I was under the Great Pyramid, and increases in yield and so forth. And so we're finding that even just simple pyramid construction does have these incredible effects. I think that principle was applied everywhere on the planet. This is a quote from Paul Devereaux, who basically says the same thing, that ancient sites of power were sometimes found and sometimes deliberately constructed to mimic or enhance what could be found in nature. In either case, the forces of the natural world were used. They were used for a variety of purposes, such as the promotion of fertility and for healing. But the overriding purpose was the need to have gateways through which contact with spirit could be achieved. In the ancient world, there were certain people who knew how to work with the physical world in order to create access to the spiritual. So there's like a combination of different things at play here. The same principles that would enhance your seeds and grains, this has been tested scientifically, would enhance your brain chemistry and affect your different glands in your brain.
Science is beginning to understand. Modern science has now established that the calcite structures on the pineal gland contain piezoelectric properties. This, in simple terms, means when pressure is applied to these structures, they produce an electrical charge.
If you have a little lighter and you hit the lighter and then you get that little spark that comes out, that's from a crystal being compressed.
This property makes it an antenna of sorts for our brain to receive signals and adapt energy. Another property of these crystals is to act like a transducer, which means they can convert the energy received into another form. In its regular work form, the pineal gland receives the energies from our senses and transfers them into signals to our brain, guiding it to react accordingly. But once activated properly, it holds the power to connect with the energies of the universe around us. It can become the gateway between the earthly and the divine. The piezoelectric effect works with the tiny crystals surrounding the pineal gland surface through the push of energy.
Piezochromism. Piezochromatic crystals are crystals that can release any color of light in the rainbow.
In yogic practices, this effect is achieved through breathing and focus exercises that release the cerebrospinal fluid, which is pushed against your pineal gland, the seventh chakra, and the third eye, which results in the release of an electrical charge. This release of charge expands the calcite crystals around the pineal gland to their limit, and then brings them back to their original size. This continuous cycle results in a constant electromagnetic field within our brains. This release and contraction of the electromagnetic field creates a pulsating effect within our mind and body, bringing us one step closer to unleashing our energies. Now operating within this pulsating electromagnetic field, the pineal gland releases upgraded metabolites of melatonin into the brain. As the pineal gland becomes more activated, the higher frequency energy produced in your brain conjoins all your 7 energies and translates them to your brain with vivid imagery. It is when with time you reach this higher state of frequencies your pineal gland naturally starts to produce melatonin metabolites called benzodiazepines. These chemicals make your brain calmer, more aware, and at peace in all situations. It's important to note here that benzodiazepines are the same class of drugs that are used in antidepressants and
will shatter like a crystal glass shatters on high C. All you have to do is find the corresponding sound frequency and you will create a feedback loop which will shatter the virus. And that's what Royal Wright figured out. So when you look at that and you think of these organs and the sound that they produce and the healing that comes from that are based on profit, medical systems that are based on profit, energy,
mind and body, bringing us one step closer to unleashing our plan naturally start
that are based on profit, medical systems that are based on profit, energy. This
major and minor, well, those are all part of what are called
aspects of the object. Like if you
is that we are in dissonance to another note.
Researcher named John Cadman. John has created a scale model replica of the subterranean chamber pulse generator under the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is an incredibly important discovery to understand because it can be the first proof of concept regarding ancient technology. This discovery may give us great insight into the ways of the ancient past. What would something like this have been used for? How did and why did they create something like this? The questions may be endless. Hopefully, we have not lost touch too much to understand the importance of this discovery.
Saw this book on the shelf, 5/5/2006, in the alternate history sort of area. I checked it out. I was just looking at the pictures and the drawings, and I came across Edward Kunkel's pictures, and he had said it was used as some sort of pump. And so I reproduced that same model back in June of 1999. April 3rd, 2000, first try it ran. Pushed the valve in once and it started running. Immediately what happened, the whole 500-pound block of cement and rock and rebar was pulsing. Like, boom, 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 boom. And the first thing that came to mind was exactly what Chris Dunn had written, that there was a pulse that was emanating from that room, but he knew the mechanism was in there. Immediately I knew, oh my God, Chris, you're right. I added a model with a glass top and a glass side. And I used little ink jets, but I had little nozzles and valves on the side of it so I could determine all the fluid dynamics within the room. And I was absolutely shocked to find that it was a vortex in there. It was an extremely complex vortex. It had a heartbeat pulse at the time. And if you set it up a certain way, it actually does the pulse of a heart. It doesn't do a consistent, like 1 second per se. 1 second pulse is bump, bump, bump. It was actually doing strong in a short beat. Bump, 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 bump. Whatever it is, whoever designed this, that's what they wanted. And Chris was saying, I had just come up with the name of a book, and it had to do with the Great Pyramid.
In Washington, John Cadman gave us a tour of his scale model pyramid pulse generator. This device works completely off a gravity feed, and no power is required. The implications of this technology are great, including energy and agricultural benefits.
If it was the Great Pyramid, this would be the moat around it. That'd be the water level of the moat. There's this kind of a static water level. And then there's just a pipe that feeds from that just down through here. So it just drops straight down in here. And then it's got the little room inside the cement casing. So it's pumping water right now over to the far side of the house, so about 400 feet away, and elevating it from here. And so this would be, in the Great Pyramid, this would be the dead end shaft here. This would be this shaft here, and this would be the shaft here. That would go down to the Nile, which would just have a very simple valve in it. And so if you shut this, it changes the pressure, and it'll change this rate and the intensity. Immediately. Whoever designed it, they used the back pressure to change the pulse rate and the frequency and the amplitude to tune it for the pyramid itself. For the variations in the atmospheric pressure plus the temperature of the water, because the temperature of the water changes the viscosity of the water, and that changes the speed of the sound wave traveling through the water. So you have to have a simple way to tune it, and all you have to do would be slightly close a valve or open a valve. And you could tune the whole frequency of the building just by, it'd be a very simple valve, like a little screw valve. The pulse is what causes the engine to start running. It's for the King's Chamber. The King's Chamber is a freestanding, it's a crystal room because it's rose quartz granite. It's freestanding from the exterior limestone walls, and it's tuned. So when you cause that to resonate, the whole King's Chamber would resonate all by itself. And that would cause the machine to start running. This is technology that has been proven, that's been on this planet since before the end of the Ice Age. All the archaeological evidence points to that is pre-flood, and that was 12,000 years ago was the flood. Energized water would increase the health of the plants, which we eat, increase our health, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The size of the pyramid itself would do it to a scale which would affect essentially all the fish, the animals, the people, the plants of that whole area or whole part of the globe for free, forever. Nothing required other than let the water flow.
And yet for over 5 centuries, no one has noticed he encoded within it astounding knowledge of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Polymath Robert Grant recently observed that the angle from the navel to the top corner of the square exactly matches the side slope angle of the pyramid. Aware that his cryptologist friend Alan Green had discovered precision sacred geometry connections to the pyramid hidden in the cover of Shakespeare's sonnets, Grant asked him to investigate Da Vinci's masterpiece with the same mathematical rigor. What they found challenges our entire concept of what this enigmatic work of art is really about. It's widely known that the Great Pyramid embodies the ratio of the radiuses of the Earth and Moon, but Green realized that by inscribing a circle within Da Vinci's square and raising that circle so its center coincides with the center of the Vitruvian Man circle at the navel, 6 perfect pyramid cross-sections are revealed, along with an exact geometrical match of the Earth-Moon pyramid relationship. Da Vinci states explicitly, in the backwards mirrored text surrounding his image, that its proportions are exact integer ratios of the whole man, and he's cut his man in 14 places, clearly identifying those proportions. In addition, he says decrease the height of man by 1/14, a second veiled reference to the Horus Eye myth in which Set cuts Osiris' body into 14 parts. Now, the magic. Da Vinci's lines reveal a perfect blueprint of the internal structure of the pyramid's chambers. Only the Queen's chamber seems to be missing. But is it? Queen Isis, mourning the cutting of her husband's body into 14 parts, represents the 14 phases of the waning moon. Her reconstituting Osiris body represents the 14 phases of the waxing moon. Da Vinci has precisely identified the presently known subterranean, Queen's, and King's chambers, the ground level of the pyramid, its defining side angle, and its mathematical relationship to Earth and Moon, centuries before these were supposedly known. Which begs the question, do his upper lines represent presently unknown chambers? Da Vinci seems to be telling us the Great Pyramid hides a deeper esoteric symbolism than has ever been suspected. A blueprint of man's unfolding spiritual journey through the sacred energy centers in the spine, known as the chakras. Perhaps finding these inner chambers in ourselves is our ultimate purpose, and the Great Pyramid, but a metaphor for the true measure of mankind.